just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.
Welcome to Sportscastr News. I'm Lawrence Owen, and with me today are my usual suspects. I got Rauth and Joe Noobo with me today. But before we get into our actual story we want to talk about, I'm going to hand this over to Joe Noobo for a little special.
Yeah, guys. So usually, you won't hear me speak out on stuff like this too much but I just don't feel right without bringing this up. As an American citizen, I feel like it's almost my duty to spread awareness on this. But anyway, I did write something down real quick that I'll just read. So there's injustice going on in this country. I feel bad not only for the men and women that get murdered and beat for no reason, but I also feel sorry for the men and women that actually put on that blue uniform to actually do what's right and protect and serve. There are people that wear that uniform that do not deserve to. And there are also those that are fighting every day to enforce the law and get everyone home safe to their families. But the fact of the matter is nothing we say can change what's happening in this country right now, but we can hope that in the future there will be a little more awareness of the type of people we are giving the power of carrying weapons and wearing that uniform. My condolences to George Floyd and his family. He didn't deserve to lose his life. But these issues will continue, and I wish there was something more that could be done other than these scum human beings that don't deserve to be in the position that they're in. All we can do is continue to raise awareness and continue speaking out on the injustice we keep seeing in this country. So,
Ray?
Very well said, Joe. 2 weeks ago, I was given the privilege to cover the Ahmed Aubrey story. In relation to what the NFLPA and the Players Coalition was doing. And one thing that I said is I wish I could say that this was just an American problem being a Canadian, but unfortunately these kind of incidents happen all over the world. It's not a US problem. It's a worldwide problem. And you'd wish that in 2020, the color of your skin or the way you look or color your hair or the way you talk wouldn't be judged. But unfortunately, we still live in that society. And to any victim, but to Mr. Floyd, to the Aubrey family, and that, my condolences as well. And, people, we need to treat people like people, and because that's what we all are. We were all put on God's earth to be people, and we all bleed the same way. We all die the same way, and we'll all be judged the same way one day. Sometimes saying less after what somebody said is better, and Joe, you kind of sum things up perfectly. So I just, I know that this is not what we usually do here, people, but we also realize our responsibility as content creators and as influencers that it needs to be addressed, and at some point in time enough is enough. Yep. Lawrence.
All right, thank you guys both for your insights. I'm just going to let it go from there, like you say, less. Now we're just going to go ahead and go into what we're here for, actually. Mm-hmm. Kind of a tough transition to go from that to this. But so Nagy straight said that it is going to be straight up open competition between Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles for the starting quarterback position of the Chicago Bears. He's flat said that in an interview that he will give equal opportunity during preseason, but obviously Trubisky has a bit of a head start, especially with this COVID-19 thing going on, because he's not had Foles has had no kind of opportunity to really go out there a lot and practice with his teammates, his new teammates. But a lot of people believe that Nick Foles may actually have the skill sets, the mindset, and the ability, since he's jumped teams quite a bit. He knows how to go through this type of situation anyhow, that he might be able to go ahead and take that starting position away from Mitch Trubisky, even though he's at a disadvantage. Ray, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, listen, this is all lip service by Nagy. You don't bring in Nick Foles unless you truly believe he's going to be your starter. Mitch Trubisky, in fairness to the Chicago Bears, and I know that Chiefs fans are going to hate to hear this, he looked like a surer bet than Patrick Mahomes did at the draft, which is exactly why he was brought in first. If you look at his college scouting reports, the kid looked like he was going to be a phenomenon, and he is just not adapted to the National Football League. But sometimes what we see is when real competition comes in, and Nick Foles will be real competition for better or for worse. When real competition comes in, it brings the best out in players. I truthfully believe that Trubisky needs to go somewhere else. He needs a fresh start if he's going to do anything he can to salvage some sort of a career. Now, I'm not necessarily going to sit here either and say that the Chicago Bears have done everything they can to make sure that he has all the pieces around him that he needs to be successful. They have pieces, but they spend a lot more time on that defense than they did on that offense. But one thing we see from Trubisky where it's not fair to blame the pieces or blame the general manager is we've watched him just fall apart in really inopportune times. There's some moments he's fallen apart from the opening snap. Yeah, I think competition is good for both of them, and I think Nagy will have a little bit of competition. I don't think he wants Foles to walk in and believe that it's his starting job. I also remember when I was covering this story similar to this before, and Nagy was talking about, Nick Foles' first thing he said to him was he was there to mentor Trubisky, but also compete for the starting job. And I think that Nagy's really hoping that he outperforms. And I mean, I think the reality is if Nick Foles does not outperform Mitchell Trubisky, the Chicago Bears are in a lot of trouble this season.
I think regardless of what they do at the quarterback position, the Bears are in trouble this season. Let me tell you. Listen, this just feels like a type of, putting a lipstick on a pig type situation. It's not going to make a difference. The offense is ugly, whoever you have a quarterback, plain and simple. And Mitch Trubisky, it's funny enough because I wanted to actually go back. I actually have the stats this time instead of Ray, believe it or not. Back to the 2018 season, which was the Bears' big, playoff season. Their defense was amazing with the addition of Khalil Mack. They had all the momentum. Trubisky played okay. 24 touchdowns to 12 picks, 3,223 yards through the air with a 66.6 completion percentage. So not bad. Rushing-wise, because, as we know, Trubisky has that mobility. 421 yards on 68 carries with 3 touchdowns. Pretty good year. But the fact of the matter is there was a huge drop-off in 2019, especially when it comes to touchdowns for Trubisky. But, if you're just looking at all the other numbers, it's pretty much exactly the same. Just the touchdowns went down. He only had 17 last year instead of 24, but his interceptions went down 10 versus 12 in 2018. His completion percentage was down by 3 points as well, and his rushing was also down. So I don't know what's going on in Chicago, man. I don't know if it's Nagy that he just did not make adjustments from one year to the next. I think that's possible. I think he just thought he was going to come out here and run the exact same offense with Mitchell Trubisky, who I believe is a mediocre quarterback, and you need to mask him more, which I don't believe Chicago did enough. I still don't even think that Nick Foles will do anything for the Bears, to be honest. Maybe if Trubisky somehow puts them in playoff positioning, then Nick Foles can come in week 16 and then he can take them all the way. We've seen it before. But
all right, well, give me a moment. I'm sitting here trying to look up something here.
All right. Research on the fly.
When Lawrence is doing his research, let me share the DVOA, which I believe is the only real stat that matters, right?
Okay.
Out of 34 possible candidates, Mitch Trubisky was number 27 in the league. Only in front of Joe Flacco, who broke his freaking neck. You know what I mean? Dwayne Haskins was the worst, which Keenan Allen The ones that make me feel the Met both is Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. We're both underneath him in DVOA.
But he's a great quarterback, right? Sam Darnold. I mean, Josh Allen.
two guys that we've been somewhat critical of.
Yep.
And Mason Rudolph and Daniel Jones, which surprised me. I thought he had a better year than he did, but DVOA wise, he was low. You know who was ahead of Mitch Trubisky? Andy Dalton, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Ryan Tannehill, way above him. Jameis Winston with his 30 interceptions. And I just sit here now and think, how is he even a backup in the NFL? Like, you know, when you talk about having a solid backup, and I get what you're saying, masking, you have to mask a mediocre quarterback, but he's a mediocre quarterback. But let me ask you guys this, start with Lawrence, I guess, because he was doing his research. I mean, is Nick Foles even that much of an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky?
With the current actual setup, maybe a little. I'm sitting here looking at their depth chart, and I'm just like, how did you put this together? This is awful. Being that he's a pocket quarterback, Nick Foles is able to break down. He's also able to break down defenses a little bit better than what Mitch does. He's got a little bit more experience doing that, so that'll help him out a lot. He'll be able to see where the blitzes and stuff are coming from because he needs that. Because they have Cody Whitehair, and that's
about it.
That's about it on the offensive line.
Right.
They're tight ends. There's no help there. You got Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet. They went out. They got two receiving tight ends. They got someone named Demetrius Harris and Adam Sheehan. But I've heard of Shaheen before, but their two obvious starters are receiving tight ends that are not known for stepping up and stopping a blitzer. Yeah. Wide receiver wise, Allen Robinson's okay. Cordell Patterson, Ted Ginn, Riley Ridley.
Cordell Patterson's a return guy.
Yeah.
An occasional running back.
Yeah.
And they're running used correctly.
And the running back. The running back is Montgomery and Cohen. And they did not give anything to help Trubisky at all. Allen Robinson and Ted Ginn are okay wide receivers. Riley Ridley could be an okay wide receiver. I've actually seen a year or two where he's actually played decently. And Jimmy Graham is so overrated, it's not funny. And have been for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Cole Kmet's still too young. We don't know. You haven't given this guy any protection to make a decision when he's going back to throw the football. So he's got to make decisions on the fly. And he's a young quarterback with no real options. You got to have a running game. That is the quarterback's number one best friend. It's a good run game, right? I mean, that helps take pressure off of him. And this, without a good offensive line or even decent running backs to make up for a poor offensive line, it's just awful. They need to step up. Chicago needs to step up. As you said earlier, they spent so much time on their defense. They haven't went out and got someone to at least make him look plausibly okay. They could have went out and been like, I mean, they're in the NFC. They could have been like, you know what? We'll give you Montgomery and a first-round pick for D-Hop, you know?
Yeah.
But no. And that would have probably been a much better trade.
Yeah.
It would have been good for both teams.
Because
they would have got a first-round pick and a running back. Running back as opposed to as opposed to David Johnson's. I'm going to get hurt 3 times this week.
Right.
This week.
Well, you know, it's not a lie. But yeah, they haven't attempted. I mean, obviously they put some okay talent around him, but nothing with any real form. right? There's no identity to this offense at all. You need an identity to work with, and there isn't one. You're like, Mitch, go out there and make it work. You tell any quarterback to go out there and just make it work, they're going to fall apart. You got to have some sort of identity, and this team has none on the offensive side.
Well, so I was going to make the argument that maybe the way for this offense to succeed, and I know I've brought this up many times before, is if they play the Lamar Jackson offense. But the problem is the Bears don't have the offensive line for that, as you brought up. You know, they don't have the tackles like we do in Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown. They just don't have the offensive personnel. They have the receiving tight ends, which could work, but again, you need some blockers. They don't have a Nick Boyle, who's basically an extra offensive lineman. So I just don't see how this offense is going to succeed with Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky. Now, maybe Nick Foles I would have a little more faith in just because he's a veteran. He's, you know, he knows how to read the defenses a little bit better than Trubisky has shown. But honestly, like the Bears, man, I hate to say it, Bears fans, because I know you guys are a strong type that loves your team, but I am not expecting much out of this team this year. Got to be honest.
The Bears.
The Bears. Bear down.
Okay. Look, first of all, I think I need to do a little bit of full disclosure that I did at the beginning. I have never cared about a story we've covered more than I don't care about this story.
Yeah.
Just like the quarterback battle in Chicago just has zero interest to me. But in the fairness of interest and entertainment, when I think of Mitch Trubisky, I do feel bad for him in a sense. He never asked for the Chicago Bears to trade up for him. And I also think, fairly or unfairly, unfortunately, this kid is going to live in the shadow of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes the rest of his career. And I wonder if psychologically that's going to mess him up as well. You know what I mean? He's already looking like a colossal draft bust. And not on top of that, he's going to hear, I mean, there's no way these guys don't hear the comparisons. There's no way he's not fully aware that Mahomes and Watson went after him in the draft. And you see the success that both those guys have had in the NFL, and he can't do it. But when you bring in a guy like Nick Foles, who has never been a successful starter in the NFL, he's been successful coming in late in the season twice for Carson Wentz, but he was a disaster in Jacksonville. He was a disaster as a starter prior to that. You can't run the Chicago special every game. You know, you can't run trickery. Nick Foles was great for an Eagles team that was really, really good and already had a lot of momentum, and they kind of rallied around Foles. When he started the following season, when Wentz was still injured, he looked awful. And then he looked better coming in late in the season when they went to the playoffs. And I remember there was a game I was cheering for Philly. I think it was 2018 when they needed to beat the Texans so that the Patriots could get the second seed. And he brought the he brought the Eagles back with like a minute and a half left in the fourth and, set the team up for a field goal and won. I think they won in overtime. They tied it up with a minute and a half left and then won in overtime. I mean, Nick Foles has had his moments, but he is to this day never showed that he can handle the pressure of being a starting quarterback, which means I have to ask you guys, why the hell isn't their third quarterback in this competition Cam Newton?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we had a feeling that this is where this would go because obviously Cam Newton is a better option than Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, I would say. But I did want to rebuttal on Nick Foles actually did have a pretty good year once as a starter. That was in 2013, his 27-2 season, which I think everybody remembers. But yeah, aside from that, it hasn't been pretty. But anyway, yeah, I honestly, I can't tell you. I cannot tell you why they don't at least try to kick the tires. All right, Lawrence, let us hear it.
You heard it from me first. They have probably sent promises, wishes, and everything under the sun to Cam Newton's house, and he's turned them down because he don't want to end up being beaten down by a terrible offense and a terrible offensive line.
Wow, so you think Cam shut them down?
Yes.
He'd rather stay unemployed than play for the Bears.
I would almost bet you.
Wow.
That's a pretty big omission, man. But I like it.
But think about it. I mean, he's at the point in his career where he wants to win, right? You don't want to go to a team that's set completely and utterly on the defense. I mean, the Panthers have always had a pretty good defense, but they at least gave some kind of weapons to the offense. The Panthers, right? Some kind of weapons. I mean, he had CMC for a couple years before he left, right? He had a wide receiver, 2 okay wide receivers. He's had an offensive line before during his career there. He's had running backs. He's had weapons. And obviously he loved his head coach, for a long time. So, but he does not, I understand that I'm not him, but if I was him, I would not want to walk into the mess that is the Chicago offense under any circumstances, unless they completely just revamp the entire offense. I wouldn't want to.
So what do you guys think happens with Matt Nagy? If they have another failed season, do you think he's out of there? Do you think they give him another shot? What do you guys think?
I think Nagy's not the GM, right? He's just a coach.
No,
He's not a dual. I think he gets fired to save the GM's job. The GM's going to make a move to try to save his job. I wouldn't blame Matt Nagy. I really wouldn't. I mean, again, when Lawrence just broke down what the offense looks like Josh McDaniels couldn't do anything with that offense. There's only so much you can do with garbage. Even the worst Patriots team that Patriots fans will say Brady had nobodies, he had somebody. You know what I mean? When you're looking at Cordero Patterson, who was the Patriots' 5th wide receiver on a brutal wide receiving core, who got used more as a running back than he did as a wide receiver, that your offense is in trouble. And I think that's where Trubisky was set up for failure. But I also agree with Joe. He's looked mediocre at the same time. You can't just blame the weapons. He's got to step up himself sometimes and make a play. And I just don't feel he's ever made those plays. I don't know. I think Nagy gets fired out of circumstance, but I don't think it's fair. And I think
the GM might get fired.
I would rather the GM get fired.
Making the move for Trubisky over Deshaun Watson and Mahomes, you can't avoid that. That happened.
And it's weird. That's the only move that I don't really blame him for, only because in hindsight, yeah, it was awful. You know what I mean? But when you go back to that draft, there was a lot of question marks on Patrick Mahomes. A lot. There was a lot of question marks on Deshaun Watson. That's why he dropped so far. Trubisky actually there was conversation at one point, could Trubisky go first overall? You know what I mean? Is he good enough? So and what did he go? Second? He went second, right? Second, yep. Yeah. And there was conversation, could he go first overall? So he looked like a first. Look, he's gonna this is exactly, and I'm not saying this for my joke, I'm saying this seriously. Trubisky is actually exactly the projection I see Joe Burrow when I talk about having draft bust. You know what I mean? And I know, shut up, Cincy fans, but it's that's kind of the projection I see. And I think, unfortunately, the GM will fire Nagy mid-season before he gets fired. That's the problem. But I think Nagy will get another opportunity somewhere. I think that he'll have a job somewhere else because people will see that he's actually he's actually a pretty good coach. He's just had nothing to work with.
You need a defense when you're in the playoffs. You need a great defense in the playoffs once you get to the playoffs. But an offense gets you to the playoffs most generally. You got to be able to score points to beat other teams. So, I get wanting to have this great defense, and they have this great defense, but they don't have the offense to win the games, to get to where they need to be for that defense to be effective to win a Super Bowl. So it's just bad on the GM, bad all the way around.
Yeah. And he also made that Khalil Mack move, which, took away their first round pick. So I'm just saying, yeah.
It did. And they thought Khalil Mack was going to be the tipping point for them. And they did go to the playoffs the year they traded for Mack, right?
No, his first year there, he was.
Oh, their defense is still outstanding.
No, it is.
They have a great defense. The trade for Mack, I don't have a problem with the fact that they went and got Mack, but it hurt their ammunition to put weapons on that offense with no question about it.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know how much longer I can talk about this.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm really running out of ammunition of things to say.
I think we've about covered everything.
It's so. Let me throw this out. Oh no, Lawrence, you have something to say? Because you look like you have your I have something to say face.
I was going to try to save you since you didn't want to talk about the Bears anymore. Is there a team in the NFL, do you think, that Mitch Trubisky might succeed more than in Chicago?
I think Mitchell needs to back somebody up right now. I think he needs to go a Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston route. So somebody with an established quarterback. I know you're going to hate me saying this, but you know where I could see him somewhat successful? Backing up Rivers for a couple of years, learning the Indy system. And I think Indy with that offense is an offense he could actually probably succeed in. I don't know how great he would look, but if he was going to have a hoping chance, that's actually an offense I could see Trubisky actually succeeding in. I mean, you could go to a team like Tampa Bay. Every quarterback's going to look good in Tampa Bay. We'd look good in Tampa Bay as the quarterback. You know what I mean? We'd probably
that
still
sounds
be
like a dig. That sounds like a little bit of a dig.
I think we'd be good for double-digit touchdowns in Tampa Bay. Just us. You know what I mean?
We might have triple-digit interceptions, but we'll have double-digit.
But we'll have double-digit touchdowns. That offense is good enough. I would just shovel pass it to Mike Evans every time.
Take it.
You know? Before I get
don't
sacked.
Even snap it to me. Yeah, don't even snap it to me. Just
direct snaps to Evans. I could see him. You know, it's funny, honestly, and Patriot fans are now going to hang me upside down and torch me and everything else. But if Brady was still in New England, I wouldn't mind him as the backup. I mean, I take Trubisky over Hoyer. I would take a risk on Trubisky to see what he could turn into, right? And I think that's what a team needs to do. Somebody who has an established aging quarterback, bring him in as a backup, see what he looks like in practice, and see if you can turn him into anything. If not, you have a quarterback with NFL experience as your backup. But Indy could be a place behind Phillip Rivers where, you know, Rivers has got, 2-3 years left, right? And, you know,
he only got one on his contract, but they did just go get Jacob Eason. So
they did. I'm just saying where he would succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they have said that they see Rivers as possibly as their future quarterback as well, at least for the next couple of years. So if that is the case and he were to go 2 or 3 years, I mean, putting him in a team like Kansas City or Baltimore would be useless because those quarterbacks aren't going anywhere, right? He'd have to go to an aging quarterback. Only other team I could think, as stupid as it sounds, I know they have Jalen Hurts now, but it's Philly. You know, like
interesting.
You know, and play behind Wentz.
I could actually see him in Baltimore, and the reason I'm saying that is he's not going to get playing time. Well, he actually will get playing time when we're blowing out teams 42-7 as we do. He'll get some playing time in the fourth quarter. So I think he could fit the system. He just needs to go to an offense that's already built. They have a good offensive line. They have weapons, because Trubisky is just not going to be, you know, he's not it. He's not going to be leading a team, you know, leading a terrible offense. He's not going to elevate those players is what I'm saying. So, but I don't know if you guys want to switch topics. I actually have something in mind.
Can I ask you one question before we switch? Because it's kind of in line since we're talking about quarterbacks. Is RG3 ever going to get a starting spot anywhere, do you guys think?
All right. So, Laura, I don't know if you want to go first, Lawrence, so then I can, you know, give my opinion on it.
I think that the biggest question mark isn't his playmaking ability, it's his knees, right? I mean, because I think he's got an arm. He's shown even when he's backed up, he can play. He needs more rhythm while he's playing, obviously. Just coming in every couple games a year when, as you say, the Ravens have got a 42-7 lead in the fourth quarter. I mean, or you know, you take all of your starters off week 17.
Right.
You know, like, go in there and play, have fun, you know.
Yeah.
He would need to establish some sort of rhythm with an offense. Obviously, he's not going to be the dynamic RG3 that you saw in Washington. You know, he doesn't have the knees to do that anymore. But I think he could. He definitely don't want to go to Chicago. That's not a team that I would want him to go to. He'd come out 2.5 feet shorter.
Man. So, all right, as someone that has watched RG3 play, you know, being on limited snap counts. I don't think he's a starter in the league, man, to be honest. And it's sad to say because I love RG3. I think he's a good guy. I love his personality. I think he has, the want to be great. But I'm honest. I got to be honest. I don't think he has it anymore. Obviously going from seeing Lamar Jackson to seeing an older, injured RG3 try to run the same exact offense is just night and day at how slow RG3 is compared, obviously. I think if he goes to a situation like a team, like if it was, I'm just throwing the Colts out there because they have probably one of the top O-lines in the league. If he goes to a team like that with a great O-line that he won't have to run as much, he can just sit in the pocket, maybe extend some plays here and there. I think that would work for him, but I just don't see him working in a system similar to ours, believe it or not. Even though when you think of RG3, you think of a mobile quarterback. I don't think he has that mobility anymore.
I think he's mobile. He's just not spectacularly mobile.
Yeah, well, he has the mobility, but it's not,
Yeah,
it's just not the same.
Okay, then let me throw this at you then. Because I think another Raven. If you are the GM of the LA Chargers, you guys are.
Yeah.
Do you start Tyrod Taylor or RG3 if you had the choice?
I say Tyrod.
Really? Over
I do.
over RG3?
I do. Yeah. Believe me. As someone that has watched Tyrod Taylor, he's miles better. I'm sorry. Miles better right now than RG3. I'm sorry. He is.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I love RG3, but I just don't think he right now is, starting quarterback material. I'm sorry.
I'm going to tweet his wife that you said that. And he's going to get upset, and they're going to have a whole conversation about it on Twitter.
I'm going to have to destroy my podcast because RG3 just turned the whole Ravens fan base on me.
Just blew you up on Twitter. Joe or Lawrence, what would you do? RG3 or Tyrod Taylor?
that's tough because Tyrod had his moments in Buffalo.
And Cleveland.
Yeah, and Cleveland.
Until he lost his job to Baker Mayfield, yes.
Yeah.
But RG has shown his moments as well, I think. Man, the problem is I would have to go with Tyrod only because of one reason.
Ray, you love Tyrod. What do you mean?
Go ahead. What's the reason?
Well, I'm going to change my reason to because it makes Ray mad. They don't have an offensive line. And RG's a bit more frail than Tyrod.
Mm-hmm.
That's it right there.
I also
He's going to get hit.
more consistent as well.
I think RG has proven that he's kind of like Vic in the frailness body-wise. You know what I mean? He gets hit, is more likely to get hurt than Tyrod Taylor, who when he plays and he gets hit, it's just a little bit less chance of getting hurt. And that Chargers offensive line, there's a reason why Rivers wanted out of there. I mean, so that's why I now if you put him on the Colts and you got an offensive line, I think that I would take RG3 over Tyrod. So
All right. Well, first of all, I don't like being the odd man out. I like when one of you guys agree with me. Number two, maybe, and I'll admit it's my bias and my absolute despise of Tyrod Taylor for making me look stupid for years because I kept telling people he was a good quarterback and he wasn't. Maybe that's where it comes from, but I am starting RG3 over Tyrod Taylor 10 times out of 10. Like, I really am. I've seen what RG... I know he's not the RG3 of Washington, but if we can get half the magic of that is so much better than Tyrod Taylor, who is... And I can't believe you used the word Tyrod Taylor and consistency in the same sentence without using the word no. Because the only consistency that Tyrod Taylor has is not being consistent. That's the consistency of Tyrod Taylor. I watched him in Buffalo.
He's consistently average. That's what Tyrod Taylor is.
I think he's consistently mediocre. Okay, I'll give you average. He's consistently average. I think that RG3 has a chance to be above average. I don't think he's elite anymore. I thought he could have been elite when he was in Washington. I do not think he's got a chance to be elite now, but I think he has a chance of being above average. Didn't he beat Pittsburgh?
Yep, with 96 whole yards through the air.
He beat Ryan Tannehill went all the way to the AFC Championship with those stats.
So now you want to,
and he got his big deal, right? To manage the game. No, man, I like RG3. Yeah, he got 96 yards with nobody playing, right? Like, how many of your starters were on the field? How many Raven starters were on the field?
Pretty much none.
The guy who ran out and gave water to everybody, that was the starting water boy. That was the starter.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, did they win?
They did.
Okay, then that's all. Then all he needed to do was throw for 90-some yards.
And he was playing his first start of the year, playing against that defense that was actually at the time fighting for possible playoffs.
What's so crazy. They needed to make the playoffs, and RG3 beat them. We weren't even trying to win, and we freaking beat them 28-10. I'm always going to bring that up to Steelers fans. That's one of my favorite games to bring up to them.
I would, but I mean, honestly, you would take RG3 over Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lawrence, I would take you over Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Anyway, since we're speaking AFC North, I don't know if you guys saw that Clowney actually denied, and we were talking about this, yesterday, 2 days ago? He denied the Browns. So happy day that Jadeveon Clowney will not be coming to the Cleveland Browns.
Was that your egg timer that went off twice?
It's my iPad that for some reason it doesn't let me silence it, or maybe I just haven't figured it out yet. But
okay.
Anyway.
Joe doesn't want you to know how old he really is, and he doesn't know how to use the technology.
Yeah. Anyway.
Look, to me, that tells me that I think we're going to see Clowney eventually sign with Seattle. That's just I think he wants to be a Seahawk. I really do. And I think he'll go down and he'll bow and he'll take the money that you thought he was going to be a Raven?
1 year.
And what were you going to pay him with? What were you going to pay him with?
Just take a cheap deal. Ring chase. That's what I've been saying this the whole time. Ring chase.
Lamar's going to go put on a car wash in the parking lot and try to raise the money for Clown.
We have like 10 mil, dude.
Yeah, I guess 10 mil's enough. No, I think he wants to be a Seahawk. I really do. I think he wants to play for Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a player's coach. You know what I mean? I think he wants to play for Pete. I think he wants to play with Russ. I think he thinks he has a chance for a Super Bowl there. Not that he wouldn't have one in Baltimore. I think he likes the system. I think he wants to be the center of attention and be the new Legion of Boom. And I wouldn't surprise me now if he bows now and signs with Seattle.
Didn't Seattle already offer him 17?
Yeah, and he respectively said, I'm going to explore the market. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I think that offer's still on the table. I think they said it was still an open offer, and if he wants to come back, it's there.
You know what? I have a feeling he may not have gotten a higher offer than that.
I mean, 17's respectable for someone who's never had 10 double-digit sacks in their career.
He was asking for 22.
I know.
So
I know.
But no, Clowney completely overvalued himself going into this free agency. Completely.
But if he goes in and signs a 1-year deal with Seattle for 17 and blows up and gets even 14 sacks plus what he's able to do against the run, he'll get his 20 next year.
Tell me something though. Okay, if you're a professional football player, and maybe being a poor guy, I look at things differently, right?
Yeah.
Is there really a big difference between 17 and 22 million? Like when you start getting to those levels, like is the difference? To me, that's an ego thing, right? That has to be just I'm making this kind of money because it can't be about I need to support my family. If there's I get paid 5 digits, you know what I mean, and support my family.
Ray, do you know how much insurance is on a Lamborghini?
It's true.
No, I think it's an ego thing. I think you're right, Joe. I don't think he got a higher offer anywhere else. I think the highest offer he got was Seattle because I think Jadeveon Clowney's a little bit overrated. Not that he's not a great player, but I think that he's not JJ Watt, and I think people try to put him in the same kind of category. You know what I mean? I think
he's a step below JJ.
Yeah, and I think he's a little bit overrated in that sense. I think 17 million is probably what he deserves. Still being paid elite money, but $22 million is outrageous for Jadeveon Clowney, who I don't think is proven to be worth $22 million. And I don't know, man, if I'm a GM, like, I'm not putting $22 million towards a defender. I don't want to put $17 million towards a defender. That's why the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be in big trouble next year, because a lot of their boys are going to be demanding big money, and they're not going to have the money to pay it, especially after they give Patrick Mahomes $100 trillion or whatever they're going to give him, right?
So you don't like the DeForest Buckner contract, 5 years, $21 million a year that the Colts gave him in his prime?
But DeForest Buckner is a different player. He's on a different level than Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm saying, I think if you have those kind of guys, Buckner, I would say Khalil Mack when he was a Raider in his first year in Chicago.
Or Von Miller in his prime.
I think Aaron Donald. Those are my $22 million guys. Ray Lewis, I would have given anything he wanted. You know what I mean? If you'd have said, give me your house, I would have said, here's the keys. Right? Yeah. Ed Reed is the kind of guy. A JJ to me is the kind of guy I will give, my firstborn if that's what he wants, right? I don't know what he's going to do with her, but here.
When in 2 years, when Indianapolis is going to have to sign both Darius Leonard and freaking Quentin Nelson, that's going to be ugly.
Yep,
it is, and you're going to lose one. I mean, you already got to kind of, but you got Buckner though. You know what I mean? Like and that's the thing is you always have those marquee elite players, and DeForest Buckner is the top shelf for me. That's that. When we talk about those levels and those tiers, he's a tier one. I feel very comfortable saying Clowney's a tier two. I'm not franchising a tier two.
So the thing with Clowney that I feel is being overlooked is that, sure, I don't think he's at that elite tier, but he's also just going to be 27 this year. So he's barely going into his prime, if that's how you believe, at that age 27 is really when they break out. So I just have a feeling, man, Clowney, we've seen what he can do. He's already a force. Obviously, he doesn't have the sack numbers, but he's in the backfield like every play, pretty much. He's in the backfield every play.
But you got to get the quarterback. Like, I don't care how often you're there. Like, we could say that, Tom Brady was around the receiver every throw he made. You know what I mean?
Around him.
But if he misses them, he misses them.
Well, let's not discount pressures here or quarterback.
No, okay. Fair enough. I won't discount pressure. It's different. But I still think, to me, he's still $17 million is a very fair offer for Jadeveon Clowney, whether he's going into his prime or not. And it's funny because he's one of those guys that feels like he's been in the league 100 years.
Right.
We just talked about him that much.
Yeah. He also has a bit of a reputation, right, of being of an attitude, and it seemed to work in Seattle. Otherwise, why wouldn't Indy give him a big offer instead of giving up a first-round pick for DeForest Buckner? Because they knew they were getting better value in Buckner by giving up a first-round pick. And that always kind of shows me, if I'm a free agent and a team would rather give up a first-round pick and pay me $21 million and just sign me, they're not interested. And I wonder, I'm really interested. Did they say what Cleveland offered him?
I don't know. I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see all that, but
I'm sure that'll come out and we'll talk about it later. But that's what interests me the most. Like, how much did he shut down, or did he not just want to play in Cleveland?
Probably. That's what I would guess. And it's a good decision for Clowney, I will say.
I think it's a good decision for both of them. Like we talked about, I think that's a disastrous locker room to have Jadeveon Clowney.
It would, but I mean, again, just imagine Garrett and Clowney.
Oh, would have been phenomenal. But you know what's funny? Like, Myles Garrett, minus hitting Mason Rudolph in the head with a helmet,
right,
is actually a pretty level-headed, solid dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, and I think Jadeveon Clowney in a bad locker room would just be even worse. You know what I mean? I think on the field it'd be great. I mean, I think if they lost Myles Garrett, that locker room will actually just catch on fire. It'll just combust on its own and say, I can't do this.
I mean, just to see how the defense played for the Cleveland Browns after Myles Garrett left, or got suspended, it was not the same. And speaking of that, I don't know if you guys want to switch topics yet, or if you had something else to say. Okay.
I wanted to say one thing about Clowney.
Sure, go ahead.
I think it's an absolute shame that the Rams wasted all their salary cap the last few years, because him sitting beside Aaron Donald would have been freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Don't they have like a first-round pick they could give up for him? That's what
Oh, true. Yeah, they don't have any draft picks.
They're good at that, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I mean, they
So-
wasted all their cap space, and now that their cap space is playing on other teams.
Well, yeah, Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks. I mean, it's ridiculous.
They really screwed the pooch on that one, man.
Mhm.
The LA Rams sure did. But what do you guys think? I feel like the league is going in a direction that we're starting to see more focus on like interior rushers more so than on the edge. You know, especially like speaking on in my terms, the Ravens, they just stacked the D-line all offseason. They did not add an edge rusher at all, and edge rusher was one of our biggest needs. So do you guys feel like the league is starting to move more into just, you know, focusing more on interior pressure rather than off the edge?
Yes. And it's been going that way for the last few years. And there's a reason for it. I mean, Chris Ballard, the GM for the Colts, have been trying in the draft, throwing second-round picks at defensive tackles for the last 3 years and not hitting a big one. That's why he went out and got DeForest Buckner. Because I'm telling you, pressure up the middle is so much more dangerous than pressure off the edge when you're playing against someone who can scramble.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're making them run backwards instead of sideways.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing. If you get pressure up the middle, a quarterback can't step up into the pocket to get away from it.
Yep.
Because that's where the pressure is coming from. You're making him run out and back and side to side and into the arms of your actual edge rushers.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole pressure up the middle thing is real and it's dangerous, and it's not just for quarterbacks either. When the ball is handed off to a running back and the defensive tackle's already in the backfield looking at you square between the eyes, I mean,
yeah,
there's not, when you have a premier tackle like a Buckner and like Donald and guys like a defensive tackle that can legitimately push the center, a Grady, the Philly guy, I can't remember his name.
Fletcher Cox.
Yes, Fletcher Cox. You got guys like that can really put pressure right up the gut and completely turn a play on its heels, just because there's someone in the backfield 2 or 3 yards. There's not enough money in the world to not go out there and get that guy, because they just disrupt so much.
I also think that it's all in result to the recent quarterbacks that have come out: Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, Cam Newton, even back in the day, RG3 when he came into the league, Lamar, obviously, you know what I mean. Russell Wilson's another example. If I wanted, if I'm going to play Lamar Jackson, I'd rather him have to go around around his offensive line than run through it. You know what I mean? Again, you can't stop guys like that, but making him run around gives you an opportunity to try to you can at least see what direction he's running, and it's a lot easier to try to get around. Now, Lamar's a bit of a freak because he'll just run past you. But you see these trends in the NFL. In the Ed Reed day, there was a premium on safeties. Everybody wanted a big safety. Everybody was spending tons of money on safeties, drafting safeties. Now guys become free agents and they can't find teams, and they're paying very little for safeties. They become nobodies. Running back is suddenly an emerging position that people are starting to pay running backs again. Forever, it was running backs are a dime a dozen. Anybody can be a running back. I think it all depends on how the league is set up. And I think with the mobile quarterback, put the pressure up the middle. Don't let these holes open. I watched Lamar against the Patriots, running through, the 2 gap. The quarterback should not be running through the 2 gap. The running back, force him to the outside. At the very least, he's not going to put 15, 20-yard runs on you. That way you can start tackling him at the 5-6 yard, into the run, because he's got to go a longer way. And I think that's why we're seeing it. And it's not because of Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, Joe. It's the guys were already there before him. You know what I mean? The Watsons, and even Mahomes, when he runs, I think Mahomes' legs are underrated at times. Like, Like, people think about him slinging the ball out to Tyreek Hill, but that man's got wheels as well, right?
Oh, yeah, he does.
And I think Cam Newton and those kind of guys, and obviously Wilson. And I remember when the Patriots were playing them, Belichick kept saying, I remember, and you watch the mic'd up stuff, like Belichick, nothing up the middle, contain, force them out, contain. They didn't want to beat them running through 2 and 3 gaps because that's where you get killed, right? Because that's all of a sudden where you're one-on-one with a linebacker, and a quarterback's going to juke a linebacker almost every time. Yeah. But you start putting that pressure up the middle, and now you're forced to the outside. That now has cornerbacks chasing you down and a safety's chasing you down. And you're changing what used to be a 10, 15-yard run for a guy like Jackson running up the two gap is now maybe a 5 or 6 yard run because he's got to go further way around and you can close in on him quicker.
All right. Fair enough.
He's going to use that in his stream tonight at 9:00 because that's exactly what we're talking. That's exactly what he's talking about tonight.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sneaky. I got to get some research.
You don't think I watch, but I pay attention, buddy.
Except you can say that everybody's changing their defense because of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, now that's exactly what he's going to say. The whole NFL, it's Ray's fault. Ray told everybody how to stop Lamar Jackson.
No, you know what? No, it's not going to be Joe. Joe can be objectional. Your partner is very biased, though. I got to tell you, man. Like it's hard to talk to him, but we can talk some sense to you. You know?
Well, to be fair, I think that this is a good team, and we Ravens fans are used to us being like, a good playoff team, but not at this level.
Not dynamic.
But if I told you that Cam Newton came before Lamar Jackson, you wouldn't argue with me. There's some Raven fans that would. Jackson's been in the league 10 years. What are you talking? No.
Yeah, I could see it.
So what you're saying is, when you lose in the first round again this year,
oh boy,
it's just the heartbreak is just going to rip you apart, right?
Ray, it's not happening. We are getting at least one playoff win. All right, that's all I care about.
So he doesn't want a Super Bowl; he just wants the win.
I just want at least one playoff win. That's all I want.
So what you're saying is, you want to be in the position where it was like the Colts and Patriots during the 2000s, where the Patriots are winning at first, and the Colts are starting to learn how to win in the playoffs, where now it's going to be Kansas City winning all the time, and the Baltimore's learning how to win in the playoffs. And then finally there's a fight somewhere.
That's when Lamar will come on. No, but I mean, hey, Peyton Manning, didn't he lose his first 2 playoff games as well?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, he got smoked at first by New England all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he finally figured out how to beat him. And
after Brady became the freaking quarterback, because it was Bledsoe that was beating Peyton.
Yeah, and now in regular season, Brady has the edge and wins over Manning, but in postseason, Manning has the edge by 1 game.
And Manning also beat him at golf, so it's
true.
I don't think Manning beat him. I think you're giving a little credit.
Brady split his pants, so I got to give the win to Manning. I don't know. When it comes to verbal jousting, Manning smoked him. Did you hear what he said about the beginning of the match about the caddies?
Mm-mm.
They go, what do you do to get ready for this? He goes, I was you got to try to get to Tom, you got to try to get into his head. So I was thinking maybe Eli could be my caddy or Nick Foles. Yeah. And Brady turns around and goes, that's low. Yeah. And he goes, or maybe even Belichick. Have Belichick be my caddy.
That would have been great.
Peyton.
Speaking of Belichick and Brady, did you guys read okay, you guys know that Reggie Wayne retired from being a Colt, but not before he started. He went to New England for an off season, right?
And then he quit. Yeah, he asked for his release.
He asked for his release, and he told media that was the greatest off season he has ever had in his entire life.
Wow, really?
I wish that he would call Lane Johnson down in Philadelphia and let him know that, right, Mister? The Patriots don't have fun.
Yeah. Hold on. No. I
didn't actually read the article today. I just saw the headline.
I'll tell you what. He specifically said the reason why he wanted out was because there wasn't any fun. He don't mind working, but the Patriots have an issue with having fun as well, unless it's led by Tom Brady. But no, apparently he asked for his opt-out, and Belichick's like, sure, I'll let you out. And then he says, okay, well, I'll get you that signing bonus that you gave me. And Belichick said, keep it.
Yep.
And he said that was the coolest thing that has, happened to him. He went in, he only practiced for a few weeks, I think it was, with him, and got like $500,000.
Yeah, and apparently he looked like hell during those practices too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously Reggie Wayne wasn't the Reggie Wayne of the past, so
exactly.
And it's one thing not to be having fun; it's another thing not to be a good receiver anymore either.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a couple of years ago, Reggie Wayne coming out and saying that he was disgusted by the rumors that he hated New England and that's why he left, and said something very similar that, he had fun, that he had a good time in New England, but it was, he realized, I mean, he didn't go play, he retired after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he went and played for another team. He realized, I don't have it in me to play for New England. And keeping the signing bonus, that's Belichick respects great players. You know what I mean? Like, I know that Raven fans are going to hate this, but don't. I bet you any money Ed Reed's going to be a defensive coach on the Patriots in the next year or so. He's already said he wants to coach with Belichick. Belichick just creams his pants over Ed Reed.
He loves it. Yeah.
And when he has respect for you, man, and oh crap.
Well,
say his name again, Lawrence.
Reggie Wayne.
Reggie Wayne.
Jesus.
Yeah. Wasn't 100% sure who you were talking
about. It's my Alzheimer's. It's my own story, guys. No, and he's got. I mean, Reggie Wayne was a part of those Peyton Brady battles, right? He was one of the key figures in that, and it was shut down Wayne. Like that was a guy that, now it's Hilton, right? And Belichick respects those kind of guys.
Now, when you're talking about respecting them, letting them walk away with that signing bonus, I just have a quick question about what do you guys think? I don't even know if you know about it. Andrew Luck had the most lucrative career or year of his career last year. Did you know that?
Yeah.
He retired
with a signing bonus.
No, not just the signing bonus. Jim Irsay gave him his entire season's paycheck.
Wow.
$23 million last year. Said, keep it.
That's because it's Andrew. Please think about coming back. That's what that was.
Take a year or two off and,
You know what, though?
Get back on the wagon.
I mean, I thought there was a possibility of Andrew Luck coming back. It's funny because Gronkowski got hounded about returning to football last year, but Luck wasn't really hounded about returning to football. But after drafting Easton, after signing Rivers, I was kind of like, wow, he's not coming back. Like, he's done. Like, he's done playing football.
I'll tell you what, I will burn the NFL to the ground. And no offense to you, but if Andrew Luck signs with New England next year, after his contract with the Colts is over, and he goes to New England, somehow Belichick's like, oh, I got Andrew Luck.
He's going to wear number 12.
Ooh.
I don't think anybody's ever going to wear number 12 in New England again, even if we brought in Aaron Rodgers, who actually I think will be the next veteran quarterback of the Patriots. I think that's what we're going to see one day. An old Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but that one, you know what? I mean, Andrew Luck's a little bit, good for you, Mr. Irsay, because I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of your owner for a lot of reasons. But you know what I mean? To that kind of respect, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? It's funny though, like, what did Andrew Luck really do to deserve that?
Took a beating for
I guess you never got it. You never protected him, right?
Yeah.
When they finally got the offensive line, I'm going to retire.
I want to retire.
Jacoby Brissett's face is always going to be such a classic face when Luck comes over with that smile on his face and tells him he's retired on the sideline, and Jacoby's like, "Get out of here!" And he's like, "No, I am." And he's like, he just looked like that deer in a headlight. Wait a minute, on the starter?
Man, being a backup or a third string quarterback has to be like the best job ever. You know, you just sit on the bench, play in the preseason against third stringers.
No, because you got to work hard in practice, man, and you're on the scout team. You want to know what the best professional job is from sports? It's not football. The best professional job in sports, and I've been trying to still get a job, a bullpen catcher in baseball. You put in no work. All you do is when the relief guys go to warm up, you go down and take some pitches. Otherwise, for 7 innings, you get to watch the games. I mean, and you get like $70,000 a year just to let pitchers warm up.
For now, they're changing up aren't they wanting to change up the? Yeah,
they're not going to pay their players. Yep,
it's something like they're no longer getting the lion's share of contracts anymore.
Don't get me started with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is a dying, and I'm a huge baseball fan, but it is a dying sport, and they have the opportunity to be the only game in town. Friggin' hockey is going to be back before baseball, and the one game that you can social distance in is baseball. You don't have to really be near anybody, and ice hockey is going to be back this summer before baseball's on the field, and the players and the owners are making a mess of that situation. I could go on for 4 hours about that.
Yeah, we're talking football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think speaking of football, we've been here an hour covering some topics. Amazingly, we found an hour's worth of topics where we started off with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles.
Right.
All right. So that tells you how great my guys are at Sportscastr.
We got a good 20 minutes on that too. So.
Yes, we did. So
professionals.
Well, when you just, you know what? I mean, when you just talk nonsense for an hour, it's very easy.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, when you have the amount of knowledge that we have, I mean, we do so much damn research, you know, that we have opinions on everything. So it's great. Yeah. Even stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't even know where some of my stuff comes from. I got to be honest, man. I just say whatever comes to mind, and you know, it gets you guys upset, which makes
it's like those stats that you brought up. You just made them up out of the.
I did.
Hey, totally you know that 60% of statistics are made up on the spot, right?
Yeah, right.
Can I point out to everybody who maybe missed some of the show, or if you did watch the whole show, we debated Tyrod Taylor and RG3. If that's not hard-hitting entertainment, I don't know what is.
That's a good one. That was a good one. That's going down in Sportscastr news history, no doubt.
Absolutely. Give us the raise, all you Sportscastr CEOs. We're ready. Can we give out a little secret?
Go.
Maybe I'll get in trouble for this also.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
I don't care. We might look a little care.
It's an hour in. Nobody's listening at this point.
We might look a little different tomorrow, people. There's a new feature coming here. That's all I'm gonna say to you. We might look a little different, and that's not Joe getting rid of that god awful beard. This is just
god awful. Wow.
This is just, but we might look a little different. So you better tune in tomorrow to see what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. And until tomorrow, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Ray Rauth and Joe Noobo with Sportscastr News. And until next time, have a good one.
Thank you, guys.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.